Great. Great. Ellie's in deep thought right now. Look at him. Adriana?
Say hello.
What, to the live? Hello. Is anyone here yet?
2 people are here.
Peace, can y'all hear me?
Peace, Morris.
Audio check. Hit them with the ones and twos. Can you hear me? Mic check. No.
Why?
Because then people are going to think I'm a real DJ.
Tell them your DJ name.
No. Mic check. Mic check. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, they said.
Is it clear? Like the Bahama waters.
Have you seen them?
I've seen pictures of them. I've never been to the Bahamas. I've been to Japan though. Is it clear like Japanese water?
Japanese water is great.
No, it's clear. Yeah. Yeah. And in Okinawa,
Crystals is what they said.
in Okinawa, Japan, the streets have like a reddish tint to it because their roads are made out of coral because it's just so much of it. And it's super dangerous when it rains because it's coral, so it gets real slippery. So we're going to start with the things to be read at every meeting. I forgot to do it last week, I think. Yeah, because I think we just jumped right into it. Excuse me. To be read at every meeting.
Islam.
You know we got to start with my personal favorite.
Caveat emptor.
That's right. Caveat emptor. Moors are men, upright, independent, and fearless, who care for their loved ones and follow the Prophet to a destiny which is not uncertain nor unknown. They are fortified by the impregnable doctrine, built upon love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. It is therefore folly at its greatest height for smelly culprits with their insidious plans to invade such a realm. They try and try, but their own bad planning brings down wrath upon their heads, like the sword old Damocles had. Intrigue and scurrilous cunnings find a difficult path to travel within the ranks of the Moors. I don't know, because I'm thinking about the sword old Damocles had, and I'm thinking about certain people who are claiming to be in certain positions, and since they're treating the people the way that they're treating them, they're getting backlash from the people. So that's the sword. You know, I just think that's funny. Like people think you're just gonna do people dirty and it's never gonna catch up to you. Like,
Right.
how do you not?
Or that they're going to be...
That's just funny to me. Intrigue and scurrilous cunnings find a difficult path to travel within the ranks of the Moors. This is so because the Moorish movement has been well planned by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, whose latent powers are abundant, unknown, and may be called into action as a matter of defense at any moment. Prophet Noble Drew Ali knows the people within his ranks who are interested. They are the vanguard of the movement as the Moorish hordes increase here in America. And if you look up the definition of horde, it's Asiatic in origin. So I thought that was interesting. All of the Moors are active, not passive. A member's interest can only be in one direction, and having traveled over the roads years before, the Prophet knows where every member is along the road. A few feet below is another road where schemers work, where traitors grin and culprits bask in the sun. They think they're on the same road the true Moors, but the Moors are high above on a pinnacle where they might view the destructionists as they fall for the last time and their bones bleach in the sultry midday sun. Hungry scavengers flying high devour, catch scent, and leave crying out, caveat emptor, cast out the dead carcass. The Moors high above see these plotters, purveyors, the worst that exist, hurl themselves downward while their own works as the hawks await. Islam. I'm glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claimed that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since you have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens. They're working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so that they may take charge of the situation. Now pay attention to when the prophet said, but now since they have found out from the government officials, pay attention to the paperwork that we're going to show after this. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors, the ones that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds, the ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. Just to comment on that real fast. I know I've said it before, I'll say it again. Dirty Moors were leaving the Prophet's temple, and when they left, they took Moors with them. In doing so, they took they took away the financial support that those people were supporting, they were giving to the temple away from the Prophet, right? So now if we think about where we started or where we were last year, we had a lot more people.
Right.
And then certain people left for whatever reason they left for. So now in doing so, they took people with them and they try to call certain Moors and say blah, blah, whatever it is that they were saying. But that negatively affected our ability to have a better space than this. You get what I'm saying? So that's how that works. Very simple, but the same thing he went through, you see, we went through the same thing. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, not lip service. I'll read that again. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I performed in the past few years. Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So when he said that, that automatically reminded me of this. This is my Quran. It's kind of beat up because I'm always flipping through it, I guess. This thing right here, peace. It's talking about lip service. I just always think it's funny when people say all the good stuff, but they actually never do anything. I can't remember where I seen it. Oh, right here. Peace. This is chapter 14. It says, you worship Allah with voice and lip. Your hearts are far away and set on gold. And those Moors that used to come here, that's all they would talk about is how much money they can make. They always talked about the financial aspect of Moor science and never the helping the people aspect of Moor science. And it's always those people that say, I'm this, I'm willing to do this, I'm that. They always just fade away, because their actions prove absolutely nothing. I just think stuff like that's funny. It's also talked about in the Quran of Muhammad as well. This one's to the members of the Moor Science Temple of America. Islam, this is the instruction from your prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you'll be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. That would be chapter 25, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, chapter 25 is the Holy Covenant of the Asiatic nations. So when he says, be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that is, ye are the children of one father, provided by his care, and the breast of one mother hath given you suck. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before your own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. so shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. So that's why we always go to court with each other, you know, to show that we support each other. That's our divine and national creed. If you're in trouble, I'm in trouble. So if you got to go to court, I have to go to court. Doesn't matter if they're not charging me with anything. You are me, you know. So he says, be faithful to your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you'll be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is on now. But the weak can comprehend it not. That's talking about weak-minded. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Drew Ali. And that's why many hearts have been turned to stone, and many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear, lest they would be confounded of their sins. So oftentimes a lot of people will observe what we're doing. They see that they're not doing anything. So then they put, instead of confronting the fact that they're not doing anything, they put hatred on us. Because it's easier to do that than to destroy yourself. It's easy to do this instead of doing this, you know. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. So the foundation of the whole Moorish movement is the minds of the people. That's why there's people who control information. They hide it and say you have to jump through all these hoops in order for you to get that information, because they know once the people get the information, they'll be unseated at once, because 90% of the time these people are incompetent. So they always say, well, you don't understand that. You're misinterpreting that. You're not ready for that. So that you challenge your own mind and not them. When your mind is your salvation, right? But if you have the true love of Allah, I mean, you listen to your higher self, you listen to that voice that says, nah, something's still wrong, right? In the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your profit. Your movement and your profit. It's not some Grand Sheikh's movement. It's not the Grand Sheikh's prophet. It's not the Supreme Grand Sheikh's movement. It's not the Supreme Grand Sheikh's prophet. It's your movement and your profit. It's to benefit all of us, not one of us, right? Speaking of which, in the Quran, always question how these people are living when they claim to be leaders. This is what it says in the Quran. You're always giving them money. This is what it says. You worship Allah with voice and lip. Your hearts are far away and set on gold. Your priests have bound upon the people burdens far too great to bear. They live in ease upon the hard-earned wages of the poor. So all these Grand Sheikhs, right? Supreme Grand Sheikhs, all these pastors, these bishops, they all got nice shoes, right? Nice suits, nice houses, fancy car. What do you got? Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine national principles of your temples. So if we say women can wear white fez, then that's what it is. Your enemies will say women aren't supposed to do that because they're trying to control our women. Act accordingly and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. Any questions on that? Are we sure? So that means if I say something contrary to the prophet, what does that mean?
Not right.
That means, one, you have the right to kill me because that's treasonous. That means you have the right to kill me if I say anything contrary to the prophet.
Peace.
Peace. Right? And or, depending on the severity of my treason, you have the right to just remove me from office and exile me from the Moorish community. Peace. What's up?
Hi.
How you doing? Ooh,
Hi, Jennifer.
knees.
Hi, y'all.
Dr. Love looks at you.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi. Good to see you. John, this is Amarellis. Hi, how are you? John,
Nice to meet you.
that's Leonidas.
Peace.
That's it. Peace. Peace. Actually, we're gonna need to move on. I'm gonna need to go sit over there. if you don't mind.
You want to move the camera a little bit? Or?
I think it's good here.
Is that burdock tea?
Mental?
Oh, nettle?
Oh, yeah.
Good to see you. I'll wait till everyone gets settled. You can push the camera down too if you want. Straight. So again, I'll read this again. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. That means if any so-called Grand Sheikh, any so-called Supreme Grand Sheikh, anyone in any type of position as it relates to the Moorish movement, to include the Moorish Science Temple of America, if they say anything contrary to the prophet, that means they've just committed treason. And what's the punishment for treason? Death. Right? Now that's not the only punishment, of course. Each person that's alleged to have committed treason against the Moorish nation is subject to a fair and just trial. So at trial they can get something else like, pay a fine, be exiled from the community, never speak on Moorish science in an official capacity again, whatever it is that the people dictate. Even if it's me going against the words of the prophet. It's up to the people to hold me accountable to what the prophet said. Tracking?
Check.
If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement, founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali, and if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Any questions on that? Any questions on treason?
Who's the prophet?
Noble Drew Ali. His picture's right there. Yeah.
He's asking for friends.
Could you explain more why we're Muslim and not Muslims?
Well, Muslim and Muslim is the same thing. The only difference is your understanding. Like if I say to a child, you have sight, or you can see, he can probably comprehend the word see. But if I say you have vision, he might not know that word. So it might seem like it's two different words, but it's the same thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or like, if I say the word jurisdiction or district or authority, they seem like three different words, but they're the same thing, So they'll say the definition of Muslim is one who submits to do the will of Allah. Most people have the concept of Allah is outside of you, right? So if you hear that, you think submitting to some supreme being outside of yourself in the sky somewhere, But when you actually study the science, as an example of why Muslims bow when they pray, it's to not only stretch your toes, right? You ever been laying down and your toes feel a little cramped? If you pay attention to how Muslims sit, they're stretching their toes, right? Not only that, but when they bow, they're stretching their spine, right? And you have two major arteries along your spine, which brings blood to your brain, which brings your holy breath or the oxygen to your brain, which your brain needs oxygen to function. which when you study like people who have hunched backs, they have mental retardation because there's a hunch between the flow of blood and oxygen to the brain, right? So that's the difference between a Muslim and a Muslim. A Muslim knows that, a Muslim doesn't.
So it's a science.
But it's the same thing. It's just, it's a degree of the same thing.
Understand.
Yeah.
Also, the connotation of Muslim and Muslim needs to be
Yeah.
made, talked about too.
Yeah.
We're not-
So when you're bowing, you're submitting to your own will. Your body, your brain needs oxygen, so you're submitting to that, so you're stretching your spine. So you are submitting the will of Allah, it's the will of your genetic makeup. The divine creator made this,
Yeah.
so you have to submit to the will that your spirit is in this physical flesh. So you have to submit to the rules that this is governed by, which is the fact that you need oxygen for this to work. Which your spirit, when you read the Quran, is seated in your brain.
I never heard that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, the science portion
That's why
versus
I got it.
submitting to a singular fictitious.
Yeah, a fictitious outside entity that's as if it's only outside of you and not also within you.
And then within and without.
Yeah, yeah. Any other questions on that? Any questions about what I just said? Yeah.
The way you explain
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's submitting to you. You know? Because they say, where's Allah? Where's the closest place to find Allah? In the one-on-ones, it says your heart. What does your heart do? It pumps your blood. What does spirit mean? Spirit means breath. What's the Holy Spirit? It's the holy breath. It's the oxygen that you breathe to survive because you're God on earth.
Because there's always hesitation for me when anyone would say, "Are you Muslim?" I would have to make sure they understand the
Yeah.
connotative,
Yeah.
denotative version, because I would say, "No, I'm not Muslim."
And the difference between
The difference is-
dogmatic and
yeah,
religious.
'cause that's what they're thinking of. When they say Muslim, that means you have this and that, you kind of subjugate your women, you pray to certain, and you do certain things. These comes with these, with that word, you know.
So, when you're submitting to do the will of Allah, which is God, and when I say you're God on earth, it's because that's what the actual word actually means, right? So the word God is not a noun, it is a verb, right? I'll try to break this down. In English, it's G-O-D, right? In German, it's G-U-D or G-O-T-T. In Greek, it's theos, So when you study this consonant sound and language chart, you see G and H are guttural sounds, so they're interchangeable. They're all Indo-European families, right? So Indo-European means the family of European languages. Proto, or PIE, stands for Proto-Indo-European, which means before this. So all of this is derived from something. So the root to this is derived from the Sanskrit word huta, which means to invoke, right? Sanskrit in the Medu Neter, which the Greeks call hieroglyphs, is WH, and that means to invoke, right? Which is a verb, because you're doing something, right? So then I just put hieroglyph is Greek. That's what they call our language, right? And when you look at the hieroglyphs, they're carvings, right? Glyph means to carve, right? And when you study the definition or etymology of the word grammar, you see that the word grammar, which is the principle of English language, right? Grammar is derived from the word, or the, I think this is a suffix. Actually, the prefix gram, right? Which when you study gram, you'll see is derived from the Greek glyph. So it's bringing. So when you speak the English language, it's bringing you back to the Medu Neter, which means Mother Nature. And when you study our carvings, it was all nature. So when you're speaking the English language, you're speaking hieroglyphics, which is Mother Nature, Medu Neter, right? So God means to invoke. We are humans. We are the invoking mind. The word man means to think, right? So when I say you're submitting to do the will of Allah, you're submitting to do your own will. That's why it's the duty of dirty Moors to put something else in your mind so you manifest that will. Because we think in cycles, yes.
Did we finish the things we read?
Yeah. But he asked the question about Muslim and Muslim. This would be the difference, knowing what this is and who's in it. Because you're separate from this. You are controlling this. This is your space suit. Space just means distance. So the distance between me and you, we're in outer space. The distance between me and you is outside of my flesh and outside of yours, so that's outer space. So this would be our space suit. And your spirit is sitting inside this thing that we call a brain. That's why it's called a temple, because you're inside your temple. Right? So now, knowing that we're God on earth, we're going to talk about a case that Amor has, who's in this room right here. Leonidas Jaber, you want to sit up here, please? Bullet, bullet! So, I'll just do a brief synopsis of what happened, right? You're traveling, of course, without a license, because we don't need a license, right?
Right.
The cop, who's European, David Allen Pender, right?
Pender Allen.
Whatever his name is, we have it on here. He punched you in the face for no reason,
Yeah.
right? So instead of complaining to each other like, oh, I got beat up as white supremacists, what do?
We filed a suit.
We filed a tort claim in federal court, right? Because the prophet said we're for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. So since we're God on earth, we have to invoke that justice. We can't just sit around and wait for the prophet to come back like, oh yeah, he'll do it,
Peace.
right?
Do you have that summons?
Yeah, so we're going to go over that. Stop jumping the gun.
Sorry, I'm so excited.
So since we know that our prophet told us that all true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to us by him, and he said we're for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. They violated his freedom by saying you can't travel without a license, meaning you can't travel without permission. And if you've been watching our channel, you already know license means permission, so we're not going to go into the definition of every single word, right? So since your freedom has been violated and he physically assaulted you by punching you in the face and you did nothing wrong, you harmed no one, you didn't hurt anyone, you can't violate the laws of the road because the road has no laws. Man makes laws, not the road, right? And man said that we can travel without a license, right? So since that happened to you, we have to invoke justice, right?
Correct.
Now the prophet told us to come within the constitutional fold of government, right?
Correct.
Because the Constitution is the highest law of the land, right?
Correct.
Then he also mentioned in the divine warning by the prophet for the nations that people put their trust in issues formed by their forefathers, correct?
Correct.
That is in reference to the treaty between the Moors and the Europeans.
Correct.
right? So we're just enforcing that all in one,
Yeah.
right? Because the prophet said all true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. Period. And that's the end of the sentence. Right? So he got punched in the face. I'll pass this around. This is going to be the, can you make sure this is on the camera? This is going to be the backup.
Right there.
This is the screenshot for the actual video. And you'll see that this is a federal district court docket, right? At the top, it says United States District Court, District of Massachusetts, Boston, civil docket for case number 1:19-Charlie Victor-10219. Internal use only. Right, and you see that this is their stuff. So we didn't make this, right? And you see Bay versus the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Now, to my knowledge, and all of you know, but I'm doing theatrics with the camera. To my knowledge, you have to have an ID to get into federal court, right?
Right.
Now, these dirty Moors are saying, oh, those Moorish IDs aren't really IDs. You have to get a membership card without your photo on it, right? They're saying those are invalid IDs, right? That's what they're saying. But on this document in federal court, it says Leonidas Jabir Bey on it. What does your ID say?
Leonidas Jabir Bey.
Oh, so that means you got into federal court. I mean, I was there with you, so I know.
I don't think you can get in there without a photo ID.
So you can't. So you're telling me you can't get into federal court without photo ID,
Absolutely not.
and you showed them your Moorish ID.
Well, should we tell them, like, because the steps we went through to get in, remember I told you at one point, one of them tried to stop me.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, but he didn't know that, I guess, you understand that everyone who they put in place in front of you to tell you something is not as educated as they seem because they share the same uniform as the building that has the prestigious title, don't mean that they have the same knowledge. So one of them attempted to say that the ID, this isn't recognized, this, that, and the third. So I asked them, if that's the case, why do I already have the suit filed in here? But this is before the whole acceptance and everything. So, and then he tried to gather his boys and make a little scene like, oh, is this not, this ain't accept this, that, and the third, until they saw just the word national on it. Changed the whole situation. So either everyone's incompetent or
Well, you're out of your mind.
or they, I don't even know what the other choice is. That's just it. So
Another stuff that I want to bring up.
it went, hold on. It went from that to going through to handling my business to coming back just to find out his name and verify who he was. I mean, so I can
Can you push up a little bit?
place the name to the ignorance, and they defended him. They sealed him away. His buddies
What did I just
protected
write
him,
down?
covered him, and put him away. He went to lunch. One of them literally pulled me aside and starts to whisper to me, "Let's not make a stink of things. You got your business done. Just have a good day." I'm like, it's cool. I just wanted to know his name. So I take note to those little situations that happen and things like that. Because before it went from, oh, this isn't recognized, to now it's, oh, let's not make a big stink. You know,
Can
it's
you be
cool. You
more?
got
Can
your
you
business
be
done.
more specific to the public, like so they can know who you're talking about?
He already, so you must have missed, he already introduced what we're talking about with the suit, the federal thing.
Mhm.
Remember when we went down there and you brought me down there time? That was actually the time when that happened.
Oh yeah,
Outside.
with the guard outside.
Yeah, with the guard.
But it's not only that, you could be able to bring up the situation that they're trying to hit you with a false identification and paperwork. So what they did with that charge too as well.
Well, we're gonna do one thing at a time, that's all I want to finish this and then we can talk about that. There's many situations that we, for some reason, I don't know, I never have a dull moment.
So, I remember when we went in, they took our phones, because they always take our phones.
we got
They
it.
looked at our ID, they was like, what kind of ID is this? I
Yeah,
said,
that-
national.
yeah.
He said, oh, go ahead. Right?
Yeah.
So when you read Title 28 of the United States Code, subsection 1028, scroll down to letter D, and then read number 3, it talks about valid IDs, which our nationality card fits that description. Then if you go to the United States Justice Department, justice.gov, and look up Criminal Resource Manual number 1508, it states that, actually I'll just get it, I think it's posted in my office, instead of trying to memorize it. Or you can pull it up on your phones, and someone can read it. Actually, I think I handed them all out. But if you go to justice.gov and you search CRM 1508, which just means Criminal Resource Manual 1508, it'll state that in the absence of a nationality card, so they're already telling you that a nationality card is superior, a birth certificate, social security number, and other personal identification is used. And they'll even state that a birth certificate and a driver's license is not ID, right? So that's the law that we knew before we entered the building, and we didn't have to bring it up. Because we know they know, and we know that they're supposed to know, and if they don't know, then we're going to make them know. Yeah, we're going to remind them. So as you see, we have a docket cover sheet with his free national name on it. It has a case number so you can look it up, and it has the cop that punched him in the face.
No cap.
So pass this
it's
around.
Not in all caps.
No. And you'll see the cause is diversity, and you'll see 281332. That's Title 28 of the United States Code, subsection 1332, which is dealing with diversity, because state courts don't have jurisdiction over Moors because we're not citizens of the United States, which if you watch our videos before, you already know the 14th Amendment is unconstitutional, which I've showed plenty of times. But if you want to see it, I have it. So feel free to pass this around and take pictures to show your friends, just in case they doubt whether the philosophies of the prophet are necessary for the salvation of our people and citizens. So, this is the claim that we filed.
It's thick like
How
a
many
book.
pages?
I don't know.
30?
But let me make sure this is straight. This is the claim that we filed. As you see, we addressed the status, we addressed the jurisdiction, the nature of the suit, and then I crossed out attorney and put counsel. Yeah, I'm just trying to show the full thing.
Thank you.
Right? So this is what we filled out. Then they got assigned a docket number by the clerk and a magistrate and a judge. And this is, right? So feel free to pass that around as well. Just make sure I get everything back. So now to speak on, some things that people will go through. Most people think, well, it's stated that in order to file a claim in federal court, you have to so-called pay the $400 filing fee, right? Same thing on state level, it's just cheaper. And on the federal level, to file an appeal, it costs 500 notes. On the state level, here in so-called Rhode Island, at the traffic court, it costs $50 to file an appeal. And I think it's the same thing in Lowell District Court, right?
Yeah.
Now, the options that the United States courts give you is basically one or two options. Pay it, or apply to have the fee waived and claim the status of a poor person. It's called IFP, or informa pauperis, which means in the form of a pauper or a poor person or a prisoner. So those are the only two situations that they give you. But since we know law, right, and we know that one, that paper that we have in our wallet is not money. And two, since it's not money, it can't be used to pay anything. We already know that there's nothing to pay in, right? So after we filed that, after we filed the claim and we filled out the form to proceed pro bono,
Yeah.
which means for free,
Yeah.
not as a pauper, right? This is what the court said. Make sure that's good. I'm going to read it and then pass it around. To show you that to discharge debt, you don't need to jump through no hoops. You don't need to get anything certified from anyone. The universe is mental, so it's all predicated on what you know, and that's it. Right? So you'll see it has the same case number. This says, United States District Court, District of Massachusetts, Leonidas Jabir Bey versus Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and others, because we actually had their name spelled out, not just the Commonwealth. But corporations can be sued. So the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and others are the defendants. So it's flipped around. We're not pulling up in chains no more, right? Order March 18th, 2019. What's today's date? So it's this year. So this ain't no old stuff. You gotta blow the dust off, and this is this year. For the reason stated below, the court, 1, denies the plaintiff's motion for leave to proceed in formal paupers. So 1, if you watch a video on his Facebook, you'll see where I said that's wrong because we never filed any motions. A motion is a request, and we didn't beg to proceed in formal paupers. We stated we're going to proceed pro bono, right? So you'll see in our response where we corrected everything that they said, so I'm going to try to refrain from correcting everything. That's just how I am, right? Start off by saying 1, the background. On February 1st, 2019, pro se litigant Leonidas Jabir Bey, don't confuse pro se with prosecute. Pro se means for yourself. So since he got punched in the face, he's suing for himself. Right?
That's it.
Because how could he get punched in the face and then you sue for him? I mean, of course, unless you're an interested third party, which there's laws that regulate that, but you'd have to substantiate your claim that you're an interested third party.
And they give you papers to fill out to be a prosecutor, and we didn't fill out any of that.
Yeah. So if you doubt whether what I'm saying is true, Black Soul Dictionary 4th and 5th edition right here, look up pro se. It simply means for yourself. Don't let people confuse you. Because if I'm not suing for myself, then I'm suing for someone else. So I'm either an agent, an attorney, a trustee, something like that, right? Who identifies themselves as a Moorish American national and a citizen of Morocco, has filed a lawsuit against the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the city of Lowell, Massachusetts Governor Baker, and others. Did they deny that he's a Moorish American national? Nope. Bey's claim, so they just addressed what? Status, right? They addressed who he was. So status, jurisdiction, and venue, right? Bey's claim appears to arise from his arrest on January 22nd, 2019 in Lowell, Massachusetts. Bey asserts that because he is a Moorish American national and not a citizen of the United States, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts does not have jurisdiction to prosecute him. Did they deny any of that? Bey maintains that upon learning he was a Moorish American national, local authorities were obligated to notify Governor Baker of Bey's status as a Moorish American national, who, pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 1332A 1 and 2, was to immediately inform the federal government of the issue of diversity, and state officials were in contact with a national foreign to their jurisdiction. Right? And if you go right downtown Providence, you'll see Portuguese consulate, which means if any Providence police agent pulls over a Portuguese person, who they calling? So we're saying you're supposed to do the same shit with us, right? Because governments recognize governments. Bey filed a motion for leave to proceed in formal pauperis using a form provided by the court. However, instead of providing any information about his financial circumstances, which is the right to privacy, so they're trying to have you violate that against yourself, right? He asserts that he is not obligated to disclose private information. Bey also believes that he cannot be asked to pay the filing fee in United States dollars because, quote, all obligations of the Federal Reserve note belong to the United States, unquote. If you doubt that that's true, just look this up.
This is why she was dubbing the whole movement.
Actually, I have it here certified from the Library of Congress, so you can also look right here. Right? Boom. 1. He makes a counteroffer of 1 troy ounce .999 silver coin valued at $598 at the time. The value of silver went up substantially. Now, I'll just break that down real fast. The reason why we made a counteroffer is because, can you hand me that? Actually, never mind. Is because dealing with the laws of, just nature, basically. The Uniform Commercial Codes 3-603 states this. If tender of payment of an obligation to pay an instrument is made to a person entitled to enforce the instrument, and the tender is refused, there is a discharge. Right? So they're claiming it costs $400 to file that document, right? We're saying, well, we can't pay in something that's not real, so we're going to counter offer in silver. So now if they deny it, What does that mean? They discharge the $400 filing fee and we could proceed pro bono. Now let's see if that works, right? Because, I mean, if someone tells me that and I'm not as competent as I think I am, I'm probably not going to believe it. But now since we got documents from the federal court, let's see what they say about if this is real or not. Since more say, well, you got to jump through hoops in order for this to work. Let's see what happens.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, feel free to pass that around as well. Let me show the camera real quick. Yeah, let me show the camera real fast. We ain't playing around here. Yeah, all right. Although we laughing, we ain't playing. Right? And this is their records. So it's not like, we didn't type this.
This will be on the record.
Right? Number 2 is discussion. A motion for leave to proceed in formal pauperis under 28 U.S.C. 1915. A person seeking to proceed in formal pauperis must submit an affidavit that includes a statement of all assets such person possesses. 28 U.S.C. 1915 A1. Here, Bey has not provided any information about his financial circumstances. He is not obligated to disclose his income and assets to the court if he pays the $400 filing fee. So they're saying if you want to proceed in formal pauperis, you have to submit to what we're telling you to do. If not, you have to pay the $400, right? That's what they just said. If, however, he asks the court to allow him to proceed without payment of the filing fee, he must provide the information that would permit. So it's all permission. It's all begging, right? It's all submission to them. The court to determine whether he is eligible for informal pauperous status. So they're talking all this shit, right? Excuse my language. Right? To see what we know. Right? B, screening of the complaint. Although the court will not conduct a thorough review of the complaint under 28 U.S.C. 1915, unless and until the plaintiff is allowed to proceed in formal pauperis, the court notes 2 aspects of its jurisdiction. So status, jurisdiction. 3 promulgations of law. That's right in your face, so no one can say this is a lie. Because that's the same order they go through it, right? In relation to Bey's action, see McCullough versus Valles, stating that a court has an obligation to inquire sua sponte into its own jurisdiction. Subject matter jurisdiction concerns the types of cases that a federal district court has the power to adjudicate. What did they just tell you? We have jurisdiction. Based on diversity, that Mr. Bey is what? A Moorish American national and not citizen of the United States, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, does not have any jurisdiction to prosecute him. I mean, that's what they said. I didn't say that. I mean, I did teach you that, but they're agreeing. Right? So any more saying this shit ain't real, smack them with the docket. It's like, oh, my bad, here, read this. Right? Or in other words, a court's power to issue an order. U.S. Catholic Conference versus Abortion Rights Mobilization, Inc. So they're using res judicata. That's what they do.
Catholic Conference versus
Federal courts are of limited jurisdiction, possessing only that power authorized by the Constitution and statute. Gunn versus Minton, blah, 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 blah. The requirement of subject matter jurisdiction cannot be waived by the parties. And if the court determines at any time it lacks subject matter jurisdiction, the court must dismiss the action. Congress has given federal district courts original jurisdiction over civil claims arising under federal law, see 28 U.S.C. 1331, and civil claims between parties of diverse citizenship where the amount of controversy exceeds $75,000, see 28 U.S.C. 1332. Do you still have that book? Is that one right in front of you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so no, you can pass that around.
Which one did you want me to show them?
I mean, there's one, 28 U.S.C. 1332 and 1331. Either way,
Okay,
either
I
one.
already.
Section 1332 only concerns the jurisdiction of a federal court over civil matters. It has no bearing on criminal procedure in federal or state court. Thus, to the extent that Bey claims that the defendant's violation his rights under 1332, his claims fails because 1332 concerns the court's subject matter jurisdiction, not substantive rights of a litigant. And we addressed all of this, so don't even trip. Moreover, the court will decline to exercise jurisdiction over any claim concerning the state's court's jurisdiction to prosecute Bey. Federal courts have long recognized the fundamental policy against federal interference with state criminal proceedings. Blah, 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 blah. Quote references, under the principle of younger abstention, federal courts abstain from interfering with state court proceedings, even where defendants claim violations of important federal rights. 3, conclusion. Accordingly, the motion for leave to proceed in formal pauperis is denied. If Bay wishes to proceed with this action, he must no later than Monday, April 8th, 2019, either pay the 400 USD filing fee or file a renewed motion for leave to proceed in formal pauperis in which Bay provides a complete statement of all of his income and assets. Failure to comply with this order will result in the dismissal of this case without prejudice. So ordered, Patty B. Saris, Chief U.S. District Judge.
Step back a little bit.
So just to show you joinder, that it's the same thing that I was reading earlier. Page 1 of 5, page 5 of 5. All right. And then they just sent this piece of paper basically saying the same thing in a short synopsis,
So let me sum it all.
and then what they can and can't do. So feel free to pass this around and take pictures if you like. Right? So they sent that to us, so we had to respond to them, right? Because they're claiming a bunch of BS. So this is what we said. So this is our appeal to their denial to proceed in formal pauperis, although we didn't beg to proceed as a poor person. So this is what we responded with. Is that good?
Yes.
So this is to the United States District Court of Massachusetts, case namely United Javere Bay versus Charlie Baker, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and others. Case number, the date, which is 3/26/2019, writ of appeal. Number 1, in response to the order of Patty B. Saris, the acting Chief Judge of the United States District Court for the District of Massachusetts, regarding the claim I filed with the federal court, there are several moot points that are made. One claim made by Patty B. Saris was that Bay also believes that he cannot be asked to pay the filing fee in United States dollars because all obligations of the Federal Reserve note belongs to the United States. It is not my belief that one cannot be asked to pay a fee in United States dollars. It is a fact supported by the Constitution for the United States of America, set at Article 1, Section 10, stating that no state shall, and I'm going to skip, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts. Thus, according to the Constitution and the fact that a fee and a debt are the same, no one can be asked to pay any fees or debts in United States dollars unless they agree, as the USD or Federal Reserve note is not backed by gold or silver coin in accordance with the Constitution set at Article 1, Section 8, as well as the fact that the United States Codes, Title 12, subsection 411, it is stated that the obligation of said notes belong to the United States. See copy of the certified documents from the Library of Congress attached. So you see how how they set it up and we're just mowing them down, right? Since the United States dollar, aka USD, aka Federal Reserve note, aka fiat, aka commercial paper, is not backed by anything of value, the Supreme Court Justice in the United States Supreme Court case Don E. Williams versus the IRS Commissioner, number 75-1312, argued December 8th, 1976, decided February 22nd, 1977, stated that a promissory note cannot properly be equated with a check, since a note, even when payable on demand and fully secured, is still only a promise to pay. If you can provide case law contrary to these facts of law, then it becomes obvious that a fee cannot be paid with a promise to pay, which voids all logic. So we didn't respond with, that's mean. We responded with intelligence, which the prophet told us to address them in an intelligent tone, correct?
Correct.
Right? Number 2, in regards to the, quote, motion for leave to proceed in formal pauperis, unquote, no such motion was made. I filled out the court's application to proceed in district court without paying fees or costs. None of that said in formal pauperis.
It didn't.
None of it.
That was the trick. They
Yeah.
slick with it. That's the trick, is 'cause it did not say that on it. We checked it.
Nowhere on said document have I listed myself as a poor person, prisoner, or pauper. In fact, it was demanded to proceed, underline in bold, pro bono.
So we just told her that the document that we initially started with didn't say informal pauperous nowhere on it.
It didn't say motion either.
Didn't say motion. And number two, we ain't saying informal pauperous
Yeah.
or any of that.
Yeah.
This
And we
time,
said-
we're letting her know this, but some people might think it's disrespect, but we'll
Nah.
see
And-
how when you read the
And we
rest.
provided case law that says
Yeah.
gold and silver.
Correct.
And then we asked, show us case law contrary.
Do you dispute these facts?
Right? And we'll see what she says after we wrote this,
we'll
right?
See, how she-
See if it works, right? Nowhere on said document have I listed myself as a poor person, prisoner, or pauper. In fact, it was demanded to proceed pro bono, pursuant to and in accord with the Don E. Williams Company versus the IRS Commissioner case and the Clearfield Trust Company versus United States case 318 U.S. 363 of 1943 case, and as stated in the United States versus National Exchange Bank 270 U.S. 527, 270 U.S. 534, where it was stated that the United States as drawee of commercial paper stands in no different light than any other drawee. Meaning, since the Treasury prints the USD for the Federal Reserve Bank, being private, the bank and its members are the only persons responsible with the debts, fees, and promises associated therewith. Thus, it is unconstitutional for any government, federal agency to ask any natural person to pay any fee in anything other than gold or silver coin according to the Constitution, which all persons in or otherwise acting as government take an oath or affirmation to support, defend, and uphold. Additionally, according to the common law principles associated with the Uniform Commercial Codes, as a common law courtesy, meaning we didn't have to do it, it was a courtesy to you, a counteroffer to pay the fee was made in lawful money, and since it is denied, the courts are discharging the fee of 400 USD ipso facto and ipso jure, which means by mere fact alone and by mere operation of law. Denying my right to proceed pro bono by demanding I quote unquote pay a quote unquote fee with a note is denying my constitutionally secured right to remedy, recourse, and or redress. Moreover, to support the fact that the USD, aka Federal Reserve note, ETC, has no value, all one has to do is research the proposed bill on congress.gov, H.R. 5404, in the House of Representatives, March 22nd, 2018. Congress finds the following. Number one, the United States dollar has lost 30% of its purchasing power since 2000 and 96% of its purchasing power since the end of the gold standard in 1913. Number six, the American economy needs a stable dollar, fixed exchange rates, and money supply controlled by the market, not the government. Number seven, the gold standard puts control of the money supply within the market instead of the Federal Reserve. Number eight, the gold standard means legal tender defined by and convertible into a certain quantity of gold. Number 11, the Federal Reserve's trickle-down policy of expanding the money supply with no demand for it has enriched the owners of financial assets but endangered the jobs, wages, and savings of blue-collar workers. Number 12, restoring American middle-class prosperity requires change in monetary policy authorized to Congress in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 5 of the Constitution. See copy of the certified documents from the Library of Congress attached. Number 3, so we're just smacking everything they put on the table. It's like, get rid of all of that. Here's the Constitution, right? Number 3, regarding page 4 of the order, in response to paragraph 1, 2, and 3, this is a civil matter between myself and the governor of the European colony known as the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I'm sorry. I write cocky in this stuff, and it's just funny to me. And others dealing with the fact that the state level courts not only lack personam jurisdiction over me since I'm not a citizen of said European colony, but in their alleged charges against me, Leonidas Jaber Bey, which they are unlawfully, forcibly identifying me as straw name, in order to fraudulently gain personam jurisdiction over me. Furthermore, there is no injured party or corpus delicti, which is a requirement for a crime to exist at the state level court. Meaning, the statement made by Patty B. Saris, stating that Section 1332 only concerns the jurisdiction of a federal court over civil matters, it has no bearing on a criminal procedure in federal or state courts. Thus, to the extent that Bay claims the defendants violated his rights under subsection 1332, his claims fails because subsection 1332 concerns court subject matter jurisdiction, not substantive rights of litigant. Is moot, meaning I said everything that judge just said has no standing. That's what moot means. It means it's a frivolous argument, doesn't mean shit, right? So I'm saying a judge's opinion doesn't mean anything. That's what I just said, right? C. Scherer versus Cullen. In order for a crime to exist, there must be an injured party. Title 28, subsection 1332 was being referenced to invoke the federal court's jurisdiction in regards to my claim and to the fact that I am not a citizen of the United States nor the several states, but a Native American, Aboriginal, and Indigenous Moor, meaning the issues of diversity is primal. Thus, it was also referenced to show how the state level courts are violating Article 3 of the Constitution and Title 28, subsection 1332 of the United States Code. I did not imply that 28 subsection 1332 granted me any rights. The statement was made to support my pre-existing rights and the fact that I am a Moorish American, and since states such as the colony of Massachusetts lack jurisdiction relating to treaties and the citizens of the respective nations, the proper jurisdiction is federal court. So they think we're dumb. So we're hitting them with, you got the wrong ones, right? In conclusion, Patty B. Saris must reverse her order and decision in the courts according to the supreme law of the land, meaning the Constitution for the United States of America and the treaty between the Moorish government and the European Union, known as the United States of America of 1786 and 1787, must proceed pro bono. Not may, we're not asking, it must. On the penalty of perjury, I, Leonidas Jaber Bey, on the penalty of perjury and prosecution from the Moorish nation, do declare and state for the record to the best of my ability that all claims and statements made in this affidavit are true, factually based, and not made for nor intended to be used for fraud, misrepresentation, misprision, or usurpation. A free Moorish American national and citizen of the free national government of Morocco, I am his signature in honor of my Moabite ancestors to time immemorial, exercising the divine and common law right to just post limine, which means to be restored to the status as if you were never deprived of it. So we are the gods of the earth, so we to be treated as such. In accord with the high principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, on this 19th day of Rajab in the year 1440 Moorish calendar year, on this 26th day of March in the year 2019 Gregorian calendar, Consul Jamal Talib Abdullah Bey, pursuant to the proceedings and debates of the 90th Congress, First Session, Volume 113, Part 12, June 12, 1967. The 14th Amendment is unconstitutional, and those Moors branded as blacks, Negro, Latino, African American, West Indian, etc. are not and cannot be citizens of what is known as the United States of America Minor, nor the several states which are European colonies authorized to do business here freely on North American soil by various Moorish sultans dating back to the 1600s, and the establishment of the first colony by authorization of the Moorish Sultan, page 5 of 5. Pass this around. So we said a lot, right?
Said a lot. You know, it was Google. It was.
Right. Pass this around, take pictures, show your friends, because I'm showing you. We said something, they said something. We said something, let's see if what we said worked. Right? So the brief is, they said they can't interfere with the state level jurisdiction, right? Then they said, we can't even hear this case because you didn't pay the $400. And if you want to proceed, you have to submit all your financial information or pay $400. So which one is it, homeboy?
Or not.
So we responded with law like, you think we're joking? You can't pay nothing with paper, right? House Resolution 5404, Congress already admitted it's worthless. Don E. Williams versus the IRS Commissioner already said you can't pay in this, right? Clearfield Trust Company versus the United States said the United States is already responsible for the USD. Title 12, subsection 401 already said they're responsible for the debt, not us, right? So let's see if that worked. And then, of course, we made the counter offer of silver because according to the common law, if I offer you something, you deny it, fee is waived.
Right.
So we hit them with multiple aspects of the law, right? This is their response. Let's see if it worked.
Chess, not checkers. Responding back and forth.
I'm just gonna let this linger on the camera just so they know this ain't a game.
What? Oh, dang. Is that his birthday? You had a good birthday?
A part of him didn't. Right?
While he was partying, he's like, alright,
Yeah, right. How come my face feels like it's right? So this is, of course, from the United. So this is their response to what we just said, right? About saying that judge's points are moot. They have no standing. Actually, I'm gonna have someone read moot in the law book.
Yeah, I was doing
Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. It's not revised. Who would like to read moot? Any volunteers? You read it? Now, although you're not in his situation, everything that we just said can be used for any situation that you're in. Because we weren't talking about his specific situation. We're talking about laws in general, the general concept and principles of law. So when you're filing your claim and they say shit like that, this becomes res judicata. Well, in Leonidas Jabir Bay versus Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the district court,
Notice in the back and forth letter,
See?
none of the details to the issue of my claim was, we didn't even discuss it.
we didn't address any subject matter. It was all status
Yeah.
and jurisdiction, no subject matter. Right? Where's moot? Why is this taped? Oh yeah, because it ripped. M-O-O. Oh look, Muslim law.
Isn't it?
Yeah, Muslim laws in law book. Moot. I guess you can read both the noun and the adjective. Oh no, read the adjective.
You said mute?
Moot. M-O-O-T.
M-O-O-T, moot. The adjective one, this is moot, and it's adjective form. A subject for argument, unsettled, undecided. A moot point is one not settled by judicial decisions. A moot case is one which seeks to determine an abstract question which does not arise upon existing facts or rights. Adams versus Union.
So I said her points are moot, meaning they have no standing. Meaning you're incompetent.
And then and she used it first though. She said we was
Yeah.
moot first.
They always say that.
Yeah.
They always say that what we say is moot. And then we hit them with case law, and they're like, oh, these aren't some niggas that copy and pasted some case law. They know what they're doing.
And just because I want to read it. The noun, it's English law. Moots are exercises in pleading and in arguing doubtful cases and questions by the student of an inn or court before the benches of the inn. And that's I-N-N, inn, suite. So that's a hotel. The inn,
Yeah.
that's like having court in a hotel.
So we send them in that affidavit, that writ of appeal, right? To reverse the decision of that stupid judge. This is the same person that we said her points are moot and you need to reverse your own decision to deny us of anything. The same person, is this good on camera? This is what the same person said. Upon review of the plaintiff's renewed motion for leave to proceed in formal purpose.
That means after she read that.
Yeah.
Upon
Was that a new motion? Did I say motion on it at all?
No.
Nah. What did it say? A command of appeal. Mean fix your ways. But to save face, they'll say, oh, your renewed motion.
Yeah, the motion is their word.
Right?
So they interchange this word.
No, it's not interchangeable. They're saving face.
That's what I'm saying. So they use it to their own.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we get into a fight,
And not to make
and you're a girl, right? You're a girl, and we get into a fight, and my pride is all like, oh, I'm hurt because she beat me. And I got black eyes all over my face. I go tell my boys, yeah, you should see her. She's worse. That's me saving face when you actually won. So we won, but they're saving face. Right? Upon review of the plaintiff's renewed motion for leave to proceed in formal pauperis and his response to the court's order, the court orders as follows. Number one, the motion for leave to proceed in formal pauperis is granted. What does that mean? You ain't gotta pay a dime.
They said pull up, son. Pull up.
That means no filing cost, no cost for an appeal if you need to make an appeal about the entire decision, no court fees, nothing, no filing fee, nothing.
But you could be able to see it in the emotion, the way that she.
No, hold on.
The way that she felt.
They're saying it's emotion,
Yeah, but
but what we're doing is not emotion. But
saying the truth.
let me explain this to you. It's fine that they're doing that. Why? Because it's working. If I punch you with a right hook and you say I hit you with a left, it don't matter. I still punched you. Right? So if we file a writ and they say, all right, cool. All right, cool. I don't care what you call it.
A writ to right.
You know?
That's not affecting really hard.
Right? Then it says all claims except those against David Allen Pender are dismissed without prejudice, which we can file an appeal for this too. We actually just got, this is July 2019, but it was in your PO box, right? Yeah. The court has, pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 1915 and its duty to examine its own jurisdiction, conducted and an initial review of the complaint, as the court explained in its March 18, 2019 memorandum. Under the doctrine of Younger, blah, 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 the court declines the exercise jurisdiction over any claim concerning the state criminal prosecution against the plaintiff. The only possible claims the court can discern over which it could exercise jurisdiction are claims against Pender for violation of Bay's rights under the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution. Claims that a police officer's arrest was unlawful, or the officer's use force was excessive, may be brought under 14 U.S.C. 1983. This statute allows a private person to bring a lawsuit against a state actor. A state actor.
It amazes me the words they use.
I'll read it again. 14 U.S.C. 1983. This statute allows a private person to bring a lawsuit against a state actor. E.g., an on-duty police officer is a what? State actor. For violating the plaintiff's right under the United States Constitution.
That's crazy.
Thus, the court will treat Bay's claim that Pender unlawfully arrested him and used excessive force against him as claim under 42 U.S.C. 1983 for violations of his right under the Fourth Amendment. These claims are the only two claims which Pender is required to respond. The clerk shall issue a summons for Pender, and the plaintiff shall serve the summons, complaint, and this order upon the Pender in accordance with Rule 4 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, because the plaintiff is proceeding IFP, which is really pro bono, but they have to save face. He may elect to have the United States Marshal Service, USMS, complete service with all costs of service to be advanced by the United States, which means they just said, well, we're covering all the fees because it's their GD obligation. If so asked by the plaintiff, the USMS shall serve a copy of the summons, complaint, and this order upon defendant Pender as directed by plaintiff. The plaintiff is responsible for providing the USMS all copies for service and for completing a USM 285 form for service on Pender. The clerk shall provide the plaintiff with forms and instructions for service by the USMS. The plaintiff shall have 90 days from the date of the issuance of the summons to complete service. Failure to complete service within 90 days may result in dismissal of the action. Signed, this so-called judge. Take pictures. And here's the summons from the so-called judge. So now this is where Moors kind of get it twisted.
I want that to clear.
Well, I can't see the camera.
all the judges are state, acting as judge, acting as like a police officer, acting as a policy officer, or something like that.
It's all in that.
It's all in there. So,
That's why it's called the Act of Congress.
yeah, that's why, can I speak to the person who's acting as judge?
The one that was signed. Another,
Yeah.
and then, they do the cheap one. We need to find them, because we're gonna go there. I'm going to.
Yes, I have this report.
I asked,
So what I have on the board is what a lot of Moors fail to recognize. Our jurisdiction as a nation of people is separate from the United States jurisdiction as their own federal government. So we have a national government, they have a federal government, right? If we want to prosecute Pender, right, since he's a citizen of the United States, their government has to be involved. Right? Of course, if our government was actually established, meaning our people weren't asleep, acting like niggers, then we could actually issue our own court summons to Pender and put the United States federal government on notice that we're speaking to one of their citizens, according to the treaty, so that they can send consuls to make sure his rights are protected. Right?
But we ain't unified like that.
But we're not unified like that. So what you see here is what we're supposed to be exercising as a nation of people. Of course, it would be a little different if we were more organized, but since this is where the chips have landed, this is what we're dealing with. When in all actuality, it's supposed to be in the Moorish courtroom with an actual Moorish judge with a jury of both U.S. citizens and Moorish nationals to make sure that the treaty and constitution aren't violated, so he has a fair and impartial jury. Right? But Moors think, well, I'm a Moor and the U.S. is under us, so if I tell a U.S. citizen what to do, they have to abide by it. That's not how that works. They take orders from their government. So since we filed a claim with their government issued a summons, so now he has to answer to that because he's a citizen under them. So he has to answer, and this is what it says. United States District Court for the District of Massachusetts, Leonidas Jaber Bay, plaintiff versus the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and others. Case number 2, defendant name and address, David Allen Pender. A lawsuit has been filed against you. Within 21 days after the service of this summons on you, not continuing the day you received it, not counting the day you received it, or 60 days if you are the United States or United States agency, or an officer or employee of the United States described in Federal Rules of Civil Procedure 12A2 or 3, you must serve on the plaintiff an answer to the attached complaint or a motion under under Rule 12 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. The answer or motion must be served on the plaintiff or plaintiff's attorney whose name and address are, and it has the name and address. If you fail to respond, judgment by default will be entered against you for the relief demanded in the complaint. You also must file your answer or motion with the court. Dated July 2nd, 2019, Clerk of Court, Jeanette McGlamory, signature of clerk or deputy clerk, seal of the United States District Court, summons. So now if he doesn't respond, he gets $9 million by default. Any questions?
Nah, I don't have a question, but I want to put in a statement. The municipal courts that United Jaber Bay got attacked by, I had front of the court noticing me and telling me that the local municipal courts been paying every year $5 million on civil lawsuit because the brutality of the agency of the municipal courts.
Yeah. So the only way for us to get a piece of that $5 million is for us to file claims against them. That's the only way, which is what you seek.
Hold them accountable.
Yeah. Any questions? Any questions in the chat?
I don't think so.
I mean, there should be. I would have questions based on what I just heard.
9 million by default, how do you recoup that so I can recoup?
File a claim. You're not getting any of his money because he filed the claim. If you want 9 million for any injury that you sustained,
File your own claim.
file your claim, which we basically just walked you how to do it.
And there's a class.
Yeah, riseofthemores.org. I walk Bay versus Nick Oldfield, which is another case I'm dealing with in federal court. I walk you step by step, even more detailed than this one, on how to do it. And I use the same arguments of not paying any fees, and I have not paid a dime.
Any questions for any of the viewers?
Oh, these batteries are dying. Where's that, what's that thing? All right, plug it in. Excuse me.
The sound is back.
I have to change the batteries. One moment. It's going to go out. There we go. All right, sound should be back on. Excuse me.
I left the court and sent them, I wrote them a letter, and then they responded to my letter and said thank you for, and thanked me for sending them a letter. They said, oh, thank you for your response to this, that, and that. I was like, well, my response was pretty much telling them that I'm not coming back. I'm not paying on that.
So we do have some questions when you're
Dang
done.
it.
Let me know when you're ready.
Always run out of space.
And then they sent me something about Rhode Island and some fee, and then I sent them why I can't pay the fee, and they never responded, so acquiescence is law. So I just keep it moving. But that letter stuff works. Writing letters, responding, telling them, you know, what you're talking about, confidently, it works. That's the game they've set up now.
I mean, no one can tell me it don't work. I mean, I just showed you a docket with it working. You know, it may not say, yeah, well, you can proceed pro bono, but they still waived all the fee. I don't care what you got to tell the dummies. I know what it is. You know?
What did I say, Pender legal assistant?
B needs it. We should help him out a little bit. Because, I mean, you know, these cops don't get paid that much money. Their salary is probably around $40,000. They're paying mortgages just like us. So we start depriving them of that amount of finances.
That's what
They're going to stop doing what these Europeans are telling them to do and injuring our people. That's how we stop them.
Well, the ones where we at look like they getting paid.
Oh, definitely.
They look like they getting paid. They got all new Jeeps, all new equipment, all new everything. They mad flashy out there, and they're still picking on the people
Yeah.
and raping them.
Because no one's doing anything to them.
Exactly.
Yeah, but, I mean, we'll see how they sweat. What are the questions?
So the questions are, by the way, I've been accidentally hiding some comments. That's not on purpose. We're just on an iPad and it's really annoying. Some of the questions are, do we need to answer the form they request knowledge of our financial status, assets, values, fees?
We just literally went over that. Watch the video over. Let's just save time.
Are those arguments, I think it's supposed to say all applicable, hold on, I'm sorry, it keeps going away. Are those arguments all applicable to all cases involving fiat?
Yes.
Yes.
Student loans, traffic tickets, credit card debt, whatever you think.
And no.
Whenever any agency is asking you for any so-called money, those cases apply. And you see they work.
For the other question, we didn't have to disclose any of our financial information. Nothing.
Yeah, we just read
Stay
that. We
private,
went over that,
stay
yeah.
private.
Someone says they want to relocate to Rhode Island. Can you
Please
say
do.
Be first, because then that way you can see what is actually.
Yeah, get to know the area.
Get to know the area, get to know the real estate.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm deleting them at the same time.
Accidentally, just for the
Yeah,
record.
yeah.
You know, people get, they think everyone's
Can we
Illuminati.
submit in a bill of costs to recover any and all injuries sustained by these policymakers from their performance bond?
A bill of cost would be your claim in federal court and your demand for whatever injury that you sustained. So on that cover sheet, was that, can you hand me the stuff? Specifically the cover sheet. Because in the cover sheet, that's where you put your
That's where
demand.
you find it.
Yeah. On the civil cover sheet, that's where you put your demand for how much, you think your injury is worth. So if a cop punched you in the face, how much are you going to charge them? He wants $9 million.
Well,
Look how he wrote it. Look how small.
the-
9 million, just.
That just summed up
It's so
some of the
tiny.
9 million.
Yeah, let me be clear with
Let
that,
me
yeah.
just sneak in the 9
I had a
million.
bunch of people involved, a bunch of things. This is a lot, going through a lot.
So it's not just 9 million because he put 18 USC 1091E, which is genocide, and the minimum for that is $1 million. So,
You
I
don't need a
mean,
MAC number, I think.
and how many times were you punched in the face?
So,
And you got slammed on the ground?
yes.
All right, so that sounds reasonable to me. I mean, right?
That's not
Not only that, but in our holy book, it says every living thing is bound together by cords to every other living thing. They're not the only person he's been abusing.
Right,
So 9 million ain't nothing,
mind you, right?
genocide.
especially since they can print it at will, just to be clear.
And then they show us videos.
Oh, you already showed them, right?
They show us videos of their ones that do.
Yep.
worse.
Wait, hold on, one person at a time, because we're on the record.
Sharita L is here. Peace, Sharita.
Oh,
excuse
peace.
me. She said his exact process worked here in Florida territory with Nora's case that he is assisting us with as well.
As well.
I do this. No, but go ahead. You have something?
What was I saying?
They showed videos of people they've been abusing.
Oh, so
You done with
yeah,
that?
So I was saying, they show us.
Yeah.
so
You still reading it?
Multiple videos of
Took a picture. Thank you.
their culture doing 10 times more violent things than what's listed and what's going on for this guy that punched me in the face. 10 times more, and they get bulletproof vests and escorted in private cars off to.
Yeah, these Europeans murdering
So,
people.
I don't see why me for just civil infractions, you're supposed to be civil, and like getting treated like inveterate.
Yeah.
You definitely can.
Hey, that's what it is.
There are a couple more questions, but okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Difference between federal and district court.
I actually have a video on that. Go to riseofthemores.org, go on e-learning, and actually go over that exact question.
In which video?
Let me
There was
see.
legal versus lawful. There was the Moorish Empire 101, and then
Oh, it's the legal versus lawful one. Yeah. I'm like 90% sure.
I think it is.
And if not, you can just Google it.
so another
For free.
question is-
So now if anyone asks you, is this discharging debt real, what are you going to say?
Yes.
Yes. And if you don't believe me, look up Leonidas Joubert Bey versus the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Someone says, how can we use that case file in upcoming cases?
Use res judicata. Reference. You can literally reference the Don E. Williams versus the IRS Commissioner, the Clearfield Trust Company versus the United States, Craig versus the state of Missouri, 12 USC subsection 411, UCC 3-603.
54.
Yeah, House Resolution 5404. Yep.
Someone's
192.
asking,
Yep. House Resolution 192. Yep.
is there a template to look this up online for cases like this?
For what? So there's the civil cover sheet. That's a template. The civil claim sheet, that's a template on the court's website. Just go on to pro se litigants on the forms. Everything that you could possibly need to file anything besides creating your own writs and affidavits is on the website. But for the actual appeal that we wrote, that was off top of the dome typing.
Yeah.
And now you guys can use
Dictating
him.
and typing.
Yeah,
Res judicata,
yeah.
Massachusetts versus United Jamaican Bank.
Well, the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Interested, that number on the board is the legal assistance hotline that we have.
yeah.
If you wish to hire Rise and Morse for any legal assistance, you can contact that number with the information and with the assistance that you need.
Also, if you want to reference another case where they allowed a Moor to file a claim without paying a fee, look up Jamal Tlaib Abdullah Bey versus Nick Oldfield and others. And you'll see pro bono, didn't pay a dime for the case or the appeal, so that would have been $900 or 900 notes that I did not pay anything. All I had to pay for was paper and ink.
Which is what deters a lot of so-called blacks and anyone to even fight for their own
Yeah.
rights, because they see the amounts and they're like,
Yep.
no, I'd rather buy Jordans. So,
Yeah. So you can you can still buy your Jordans, but I recommend buying a law book and
I
file a
feel like
claim.
I buy so much Jordans. And the airplane and just drop them over Africa. There you go.
What's the question?
Now, somebody was just asking something about foreign, and I said, yes, we're foreign to the United States. I don't know if that is exactly.
The word foreign just means outside.
Um,
So yes, we are outside of the United States. That does not mean we're foreigners on our own land. It means we're outside of the United States.
Doesn't mean
Look up the
overseas.
definition of the word foreign, not what you think it means. And this is not personally against you. This is against the mindset of I'm just going to accept what people tell me and not look it up.
Someone says, do we need certified copies of House House Joint Resolution? Do we need certified copies?
You don't need it. You can just reference it because it's still there. You don't need it. But if you're going to help teach our people, then I would recommend it because our people can't deny that because it's certified. But if it's just printed, anyone can just raise questions.
It was a typo. He said, do you have to have certified copies of res judicata?
No,
No.
no, no, no. They do that? No.
No.
They just
They
tell
just
you
say
this
it.
case, and then they have you look it up. But they know most people aren't going to look it
I'm
up.
not gonna look it up ever.
But if you're going to look up, if you want to find some res judicata, you can get the res judicata class that we did on rosalindmoores.org under products and e-learning, or you can study for yourself like I do and go to caselaw.findlaw.com.
Canaan Land Morris said, resolution is not law. I'm not sure if he's talking to us or if he's talking to somebody in the chat.
Caselaw.findlaw.com. And you can look up res judicata if you want to look up like for me, I knew Indians or wards, and I knew the federal government said that. So I just put that in on the search bar, put Indians or wards, and a bunch of case law came up. Click on whatever case you want to read, and then start reading. Like the state,
Wards?
Craig versus Missouri, that case is 27 pages. And yes, I read 27 pages. And I have it in there if you want to review it. Any other questions?
Wards meaning wards of the state, right?
Yeah, yeah. Because these lying ass Indians like Raymond Watson, aka Nesu Wesawinnog, aka Two Hawks, claims that the Snyder Act made Indians U.S. citizens. That was in 1942. But in 1971, the federal court said Indians are wards. You can't be a citizen in a ward. Which one are you?
Because the European invading over here, that's the reason why they.
Yeah.
attacked
You
us.
could-
Sharita
Either
said that's
or,
the
it's
case
not
that was
where you wanna
referenced in
be either.
Nora's case and that it worked.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, I'm helping Sharita. Yeah, I'm the one doing it. Yeah.
That's what she was
You
saying.
could be
Oh, yeah.
co-ward.
Any other questions from anyone here?
And trying to like rehearse the diversity of citizenship and use case law to as well, by Dres Carl versus Stanford too as well,
Mhm.
on that matter.
Yeah.
So it could be able to see more of a perspective about second-class citizens and
Yeah.
diversity that we're not citizens.
Yeah.
We foreigners are still on the Morocco soil.
Yeah, so the problem with, well, it's not a problem, but the mindset associated with the Dred Scott case, the Europeans have taught our people that the 14th Amendment reversed that, and now blacks are citizens. So that's why we have the 14th Amendment, the congressional debates regarding the 14th Amendment, stating that it's unconstitutional. So when the Dred Scott case says so-called blacks aren't U.S. citizens, that's still true because blacks are really Moors, and we can't be citizens of European colonies that they had to get permission from us to even be here. That doesn't even make sense. That's like Germans being citizens of Japan when the Japanese people go to Germany. That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, the same way that you could be able to look at Benjamin Franklin. He was the co-founder of United States Corporation too as well.
Yeah,
You know, and
Yeah.
that's the reason why he's in the $100 bill and the promissory note, promissory to pay.
Yeah.
Because it was built up on the municipalities inside of that jurisdiction.
yeah,
It just colonies, European colonies, just acting as such a power in here. The same
Yeah.
thing when we talked about Caveat Emptor is a structure of municipality to control the people.
yeah. Well, that's been their Inquisition mission,
For so
you
many
know.
years. And that's why the reason is they could be able to be citizen, first-class citizen of
Yeah.
the United States. That's why the privileges and the right comes together, and that's like extra perk. But when it comes down to us,
Mhm.
they think that we the minority, but we're the majority of the individuals understanding.
Well, most of the higher ups don't think that.
Yeah.
They have us thinking that, so we don't even think about rebelling against them because we think we're outnumbered.
The pressure.
You know?
Yeah.
It's so they set it up so that we defeat ourselves mentally.
Yeah.
That's why the prophet came and said, "I came to redeem you from mental slavery."
The same thing with the paper promissory note, 1913,
Yeah.
1933, that they
Yeah.
took the right weight of money, that it was gold and silver,
Mhm.
and they confused us of battling the soil,
Mhm.
when all these wars all the way since 1933, 1944,
Yeah.
and then they recovered the promissory note because it was back, the money, the dollar for dollar was backed up with a gold,
Mhm.
and they had the ink with the number in to attach to the trust that was the gold backed up in.
Yeah.
They recover all that money.
hmm
And 1977, when the Second War happened,
hmm
they just like
They made it so it's not
forget about it.
interchangeable
They
internationally, yeah.
Internationally to
Yeah.
currency, and that's why they're confusing us in the mindset,
Mhm.
which is a mindset of the way that they want to.
Yeah,
do
I actually
things.
talk about that in was that my second book where you posted about the same system that they use, blah 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 blah.
Yes, African
Yeah.
Marsh Dominion.
Yeah, people should get that book. Anyway, any other questions?
Someone was asking if this process was a tort claim.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Which is what the consulate is supposed to be helping Moors do. That's their
I
job.
don't see why, if there's no statute of limitations on fraud, and every so-called black, African American, Hispanic, whatever you want to be next week called, and even Moors, have stories of being violated by these bodies in actions, these corporations, and the federal building aren't full of us.
Because we're incompetent.
Full of us in our own garbs and gowns, in our own
Mhm.
status, in our own culture, in our own right mind, and just in there.
We
So
don't-
much in there that we set up a coffee shop in there because
Mhm.
there's so much of us in there.
We don't have
Seeking
legal
justice.
assistance or counsel. And technically, if we're saying that the council is our counsel, we the people need to put them accountable for.
Yeah, but we have to be competent for that.
Yeah, we.
So if, in that case, if this is a legal service that you're providing, maybe this could be the council where we
Yeah.
try to assist whomever wants to have counsel whenever they're trying to go to federal court
Yeah.
and get remedy via tort claim. So whomever
Absolutely.
is here needs to teach whomever else.
And not only that, when you actually take the step to go there and do it, remember the prophet said the Europeans are helping me. Why aren't you? When you're in there, those Europeans helping you, teaching you how to do it too. They'll tell you the steps and this, that, and the third. Some of them will even give you advice.
Mm-hmm.
It all depends on your will, your intent to want to seek justice. If you're in there at all, what's your intent like when you're in there?
Mm-hmm.
And then to be able to use accountable, the etymology of the word of accountability, it comes from a state of mind of answering.
Mm-hmm.
And having that being said, it just has educating yourself every day to understand and be accountable.
Yeah.
And have accountability.
For your own actions.
Yeah, to take your own actions.
Yeah.
No one wants to be held accountable.
That's why people don't go make claims in court for themselves. They rather, this is what our people do. We get injured and then we complain to each other.
Yeah.
So now we're putting the burden on each other
Yeah, we need
instead
to
of
stop.
putting the burden on the person that injured us together. So we're just adding more weight to each other. And the Europeans are like, look, they're taking on our karmic debt. Because that's exactly what we're doing. The more, if you get hurt, if you're constantly being harassed by the police, the more you complain to it about me, the more stressed I'm going to be. Right? Because you're my brother, so I feel that because you're putting your emotions into it. That's how that works. Because we're empaths. So instead of you doing that to me, bring him to the stand
That's true.
and make him answer for what he did to you. And then have a jury there. So the same emotions I was feeling, now you can put it on them. So they can feel your pain
That is true.
and then rule in your favor.
Because we come into our
And then get you some fiat.
we come into our households first and our friends of circles and we vent to each other about
Mhm.
how we were ill treated. And we should,
So we complain to each other
yeah.
instead of filing claims
Claims.
against these people.
Resolutions.
Yeah,
'Cause
getting
like-
stuff resolved.
Hmm.
You know?
That's why I held it all in and went to the building like,
That was funny. He was up there like, did you sign this? Did you read this? That was funny. If there's no questions, we can just sign
I
out.
still have,
Oh, I'm sorry.
waiting patiently. Yes, Indians are ward of the state.
Get my third book, and you'll see that.
All the Indian fire.
hmm
Calling them out on their bullshit. Can see them.
And get my second book too. You see where they sell their sellouts. You'll see their signature on everything.
Sold their tribe to the government.
The de facto government, because they're supposed to govern their own nation, like we're supposed to be doing. But they was like, nah, we'll just submit to you.
Someone says, do I file a suit if a company doesn't want to respect my nationality card?
Yes, that's called discrimination against your national origin. Look up Peoples versus
and
City of
it's
Detroit.
it's on the cover sheet. They have a billion things you can sue for. They only tell you can choose one. So you have to know what it is that the problem is against you. You have to know what you want, what you seek.
And that's USC Title 18, 1028, subsection 1028 D3.
Look up Peoples versus City of Detroit. You'll see that you have to sue based on claims of discrimination against your national origin, not your race.
And Criminal Resource Manual 1508.
Yeah.
Someone said, Jamal, helping us a lot. Hmm. Someone shared a nice poem. Powerful are thoughts used right. They can compel the human mind to know no limit. Used wrong, anchor you in hell. All rights reserved.
That's that human, the invoking mind.
Someone says, thank you for all you do. When I think of the vanguard of the movement in the age we occurs, I think Garden of Moore is always active. Peace.
Peace. Thank you. I appreciate the acknowledgement. What's up? Oh, you're not smiling no more. Earlier, you was happy to see me. Now you ate your food, you don't even care no more.
No more questions, but I am going to go over, that's the legal assistance hotline number. Contact, you can hire Rise of the Moors for legal assistance. Also, on riseofthemoors.org, we put up some new e-learning classes. If you click the menu on the menu button on the top right-hand screen of the website, it looks like 3 horizontal lines. Click on it, click on products, go to, scroll down to e-learning, and then scroll all the way down. The last 3 is Moorish Empire 101, Legal versus Lawful, and one else that I cannot remember for the life of me. But
Probate court.
Probate court, thank you, Trust Level 103, probate court.
Yeah.
And then they have, it's up close video. You get his face up close. And we also have a screen share so you get to see the documents that he has prepared.
And you actually
or
get the
that he's
documents
reading
too.
from. And you get a downloadable link of the documents.
And they have quizzes that
in
you
the
can
video.
take for yourself.
Right, at the end of the class, he does provide a quiz, so that way you are on par with what he's teaching. So we are.
But it's for yourself. It's not for me to evaluate you. It's for yourself.
Right. We'll always continue to have free Saturday class, but if you want better quality of classes, and this is kind of the start of Rise of the Moors University, go ahead and purchase some of the e-learning classes so you can further your education. And also, Texas, October 26th, we will see you in Port Arthur, Texas,
Yeah.
along with Brother Ben X from Nation
Yep.
Islam,
Yurima Karama, Tazara Path, Jamar,
Jamar,
Pop Darby.
Jamar Milton.
I said him
and
already.
Maybe, possibly, Risa Islam from
Yeah.
Nation
I mean, he said yes, but
We're still waiting on confirmation.
we're waiting for the third confirmation.
Yeah. We're waiting to see if he shows up that day.
Yeah.
Hopefully he does, but if not, I mean, at least we still have a good amount of people coming together to bring people from just different walks of life
Mhm.
together and to get them all into this information.
Yeah.
I think that's it. What else do we have to say? Oh, and
Wednesday calls. Yeah.
It is the first week of the month, so that means this
Last Wednesday was the first one.
last Wednesday was the first Wednesday call, but there are still, I think there's 5 Wednesdays in September, right? 5
I
weeks?
have no idea.
1, 2, 3, 4, no. But there are 3 more Wednesdays, so online, if you purchase the group chat, it's every Wednesday from
7 to 9.
p.m. to 9 p.m.
Eastern.
Eastern time, that's right. You get, that's 3 hours, right? 2 hours to speak with Jamal, question and answering. And those aren't, the group chat isn't a structured class, but you can come in with any questions that you might have and also learn just from some of the other Moors asking questions. So that's every Wednesday, but you buy that one time online, it's 25 notes for all the Wednesdays in the month. And then next month, you'll have to buy a new $25
Yeah.
access
So
code.
it's to simulate. It's like online membership.
Right.
It's to simulate dues because these men and women have to come in here. They pay 10 notes for the class,
Right.
so we can actually pay for the building, although it's not payment. And
Just making promises.
Because you're
yeah.
selling.
You call us sellouts? Is that what you
Nope,
did?
nope. Somebody asked me about. Ooh, I'll just say it. I don't even care.
Yeah,
I
say
don't
it,
care.
say it.
Why? Why the Nation of Islam not educating their nation of remedies that you and many other Moors have shed light on, and are they sold out too? And I said because they're sellouts. They literally learned from Prophet Abu Ali, and when the Moorish, when during the time of the Prophet, when all of that broke up.
This.
Yeah.
All right. I'll say this. If you
Everybody
watch,
in Chicago knows this.
if you watch the video that it was the wake up call in Long Island.
Yeah.
Long Island. It was me, Ben X, Riza Islam, and some other minister. I'll just say those people because they're from the Nation of Islam. When you'll hear Riza Islam say, "This is Al Marak,"
hmm
so you can't tell me that they don't know.
He's also said it a few times on his own social media.
Yeah, he also has Riza Islam also has videos saying that we're not black,
We're Moors.
we're Moors, or we're Asiatique. And also, Brother Ben X has videos on on YouTube saying that we're not black, we're Moors. So no one can ever say that these people don't know. They absolutely know. And in fact, Brother Ben X has stated out of his own mouth the reason that he was doing a scenario where it was him calling him, but he was acting to someone else. He was calling Ben X for help. And he was saying, "These black guys are chasing me." And then he was like, "Well, you finna be dead because you claim to be black, because black means dead." So, they know what it means. They just don't. They don't do this, they don't wear this, and they don't tell you straight up, you ain't black.
That's not the guy who debate.
I was on a panel with?
No, I seen a debate him and the teacher.
Taj?
Taj.
Who? Who and who? Who and Taj? Ben X?
No
There was some
way.
guy with glasses.
Yeah.
Sunglasses.
Is that
or-
Ben X?
That's some other.
Oh, no, that's some other guy. Yeah, no, I know who he's talking about.
I was like,
Nah, that's some other guy. He kept saying Sudan means black,
Yeah.
and Arabic
Oh.
means black. No, not that
Oh,
guy.
God, I couldn't-
I don't even remember.
That
He's
was painful to watch.
so incompetent. Everything can't mean black. That just doesn't make
That was
sense.
embarrassing.
Yeah, that was crazy. Oh, but on the Nation of Islam's website, some of the things that they talk about, they state that they either want to be respected by the United States, and if that's not possible, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, then separation from the United States, and so-called black people don't have to pay taxes to them. Those things that they're talking about are national principles. So I've shared, because ever since the panel I did in New York, I'm in the group chat with Riza Islam, Jamar, Yurima Karama, Tazara Path, Red Pill, Pop Darby, with all these people, and I've showed them that, she got a job without paying taxes. I got a job without paying taxes, receipts of us purchasing things without paying taxes, showing them that what the Nation of Islam wants, we have, so teach your people this. And I mean, there was no response. I can show you.
I
Someone
don't
said Nation
think-
of Islam is halfway there. They're very organized in the model of what we need to build. Yes, they have the military. If we could get them to teach civics, to understand the law, to teach law and civics, and not just be dogmatic and not just do the church stuff, they would be in alignment with what this is.
I'll
But
show
again,
you.
they started off because of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, so they started off already
Yeah.
knowing this information.
So here's all their stuff in the group chat. All their names in the group chat. So you can't tell me these people don't know, because I told them. That's Yarima Karama. I think his stuff was deleted. We see Riz Azam, Ben X, Red Pill, Jamar, Pop Darby, Zarpath. Right? I showed them the tax exempt stuff. And I explained it. So you can't tell me they weren't put on notice. You know? Because if they didn't know, although there's no
And it's no disrespect to
excuse.
anybody.
Yeah,
It's
no. It's just, here's the
it's
truth.
what it is.
Yeah. All right, so I guess we'll sign out because I'm kind of just dragging this along for
Thank
no
you.
reason.
This was a great class. Thank you, Grand Chief.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, people who showed up to class. We appreciate you.
Islam.
Peace. Thank you to everybody in the chat who joined us. Thank you for joining us every Saturday, and we will see you next week.
Peace.